welcome back to another exciting episode of Cruising Tomatoes. Today, I'm going to get these white hands filthy, alright? What I'm going to be doing is something that I have never ventured out into before. We're going to do a DIY safari snorkel install on the 150 series Prado. So the one we're doing it is obviously my one, which has the first of the 1GD motor. So just for your reference, this is the snorkel that we're going to be putting is SS188 HFG. So we do need quite a lot of things. So I've gone out shopping, had to ask a lot of questions, but we finally got there in the end. So as you can see all around here, I have bought a reciprocating saw. Very handy. I already had an impact drill and a power drill, so we're going to need all that to do the step drill. So step drill is really important, so we'll be using this when we want to do the bracket in the pillar. I also bought an automatic center punch. Very important. Masking tape. Can't do any panel cutting without masking tape. We've got our Loctite 243. We have a quick fit arbor, which is really important. So this one here goes inside the 89mm hole saw. So that will go in there, which I'll show you later on. And basically it's a pilot drill, goes in and centers right so we can cut correctly. We also have our usual Sikaflex. Got to have Sikaflex. We don't want any water going in. And we've got some, as recommended by our expert at Super Cheap. We hope this is the right one, but it's some quick coat etch primer with some rust protection in it. We've also got our little bits and bobs. So we've got our usual tools, screwdrivers, the usual kind of stuff. I actually have only just opened the top of this box at the moment. I haven't gone in. I have read the instructions several times, and what I'll also be doing is I'll upload the instructions just for your own reference in case you want to go and do a little bit crazy DIY work like we're about to do, like cutting a beautiful hole in a perfect panel. But hey, what's the fun? We've got four-wheel drives, we've got to use them. All right, what we're also going to be doing today, but it will be on a separate video, is we're going to install, you can probably see down there, I have a new genuine headlight. So the one we've currently got is heavily oxidized, and if you want to come around, I will show you. It is currently a walking funeral parlor. So we have this poor little bugger here. All right, his name is Benny. So poor Benny the Bee, you know, he's been there a long time since we actually purchased the vehicle. You can see this is oxidized quite heavily. Now I have cleaned it several times. Look, I've just found from past experience that the best way of doing it is just to replace it and then put some headlight protectors on it. So look, I did look at aftermarket ones and I thought, hey look, and I had some good experience with my Pajero. I went on eBay. I bought from a really good seller there called IQUAI. I'm not sponsored by them, but they are a really good seller. But I bought a genuine headlight because the price was just really good. And I don't want to take a chance. I know Toyota's OEM parts are really good quality. So we're going to replace that. So that'll be a separate video for anyone that's interested in watching that. So what we're going to do, let's get started and we'll talk about safety first. All right, safety is very important. So if you want to come along here, you can see what I've had to do is try to get prepared a little bit. I've already taken off the center cap here. All right, only because I want to get my measurements right, so that's easy. It pops out with a flathead screwdriver. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the wheel off first, but as I said, safety first. So what we've done, we've come around to the back here. We have got some wheel chocks. I've got one on each of them because I don't want the car falling back or going anywhere. Very important, more for the neighbors than for me, but all right. Now what I've also had to do, I've had to put a couple of timber blocks underneath the jack here, and I do have a couple of safety stands. This is just one, but I do actually have three, so I'm going to be jacking this up, and then I'll be putting the safety stands on as well, because I definitely don't want the car falling on me. So the reason I am taking the wheel off, besides the instructions say, I've seen it done on a couple of other cars. I had our 100 series, we actually did that. And yeah, it is much easier with the wheel removed. So without further ado, let's go and unbox the snorkel. The four drive snorkel by my, all right, we're not going scuba diving like that, just to, you know, in case you're all wondering. Or you're gonna see me in a Speedo, so don't worry, it's child rated. All right, here we go. I'm almost like an elf on Christmas Day. Well, I know you're all thinking I'm short. It's all right. I've thought of myself many times. All right, so this one here is the Safari Ram Head. Now, a lot of you guys are probably wondering why we went the Safari Snorkel. I could have gotten, an $80 one off eBay. A few really important things is that with the Safari Snorkel, same as like, people compare them to the stainless steel snorkels, because they do look nice and fancy. But I love these. Look, they've got a trusted, proven reputation. And I love the way the Ram Head has the water dispersion design. So when you're driving through a lot of rain, the water will go at the back and go out the back. So that was really, really important in terms of the decision making. I think Safari's just got a really good reputation. So when you're planning a few trips, which I'm going to be doing in this car, so planning on doing the Cape York, the Simpson, want the car to be reliable and have good quality gear. And that's just sort of another idea of why I'm doing it myself. I also want to know, for my own peace of mind, look, something goes wrong, how I can put it back together. I want to make sure the Safari Snorkel is properly sealed. I know a lot of, the big three-letter four-wheel drive places, they say they do it, and I don't doubt them at all, but for my peace of mind, I wanted to do this. So this is the instructions and the parts list. So we've got a few little bits and bobs in here. Really important. The instructions. Where would a life be without instructions, especially if you buy from IKEA? Not that I do. Anyway, so we won't go there. Alrighty, so here we go. I've already gone through this, as I said, online, so I've sort of got a bit of an idea on what to do, and hopefully it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But as I said, I will upload a copy of this via PDF. A description will be in the link. So let's put that down here and see what else is in the Snorkel, in the box. Oh, it's a Tommy gun. Oh no. Pretty close. All right, there we go. So there's the Safari Snorkel. So that will go into like that. As such, I'll show you. I'm sure you guys all know what it looks going to look like, but that's basically how it's going to be. Just like that. Excellent. So no need to take this out of the plastic packet yet. Let's just throw that over here with the other bits and bobs. And the most important part is we have the little sort of like rubberish type of gasket. So this goes on the back side of the Safari main body snorkel. So what that basically does, it stops the snorkel from vibrating against the panel. And obviously we have the template, the all-important template. Where would we be without the template? I'll tell you what, I've seen some jobs done without templates, and yeah, actually I have seen some templates that are actually quite dodgy as well. That was another reason I thought, hey, look, let's get a good brand, fit it properly. Even with the other ones, you always just got to do the old carpentry or building skills, measure twice, cut once. I plan on measuring 5 times and cutting once. Alrighty, well guys, let's all get stuck into it. First thing what we're going to do before, and this is a really handy tip, I learned this because I come from a family of mechanics, with the exception of myself. But what we can do with this is we always need to loosen the wheel nut first before we actually lift it on the ground. The reason for that is if they're run extremely tight, it is going to make it very, very, very difficult to take the wheel off, because the wheel will just spin and we're not going to get the leverage that we need. So I'm going to start with using my trusted ratchet gun, and let's see if this works first. Alright, now we're going to jack the car up. Alrighty, let's taste down just a smidgen. Alright, we'll remove that so that's out of the way. And let's continue taking all this off. Alright, the trusted gloves. Where would they be, the trusted gloves? Right, what we're going to do now is we're going to open the bonnet as well. Let's go open the bonnet. Alright, let's start removing. probably wondering what I'm doing. I'm just putting this underneath as an additional safety precaution, so at least if it falls, it won't go too hard. All right, next step is to remove the mud flap. So let's go ahead and do that. So just for everyone's reference, that was a 10mm. So now what we've done, we've undone that, we need to take out these little things here. Now, I will tell you they are little buggers to get out. So, we finally got this off, the inner guard. I got to admit there was a lot of words that we won't use on camera, that's for sure. It was a real PITA. So these little horrible things that go in, we end up just chopping them off. Look, I end up having to go and do a bit more research. Apparently I'm not the only one that has a lot of these problems, so they're just a real crappy design when it comes to getting them off. They're great putting them on because they stay on, but getting them off an absolute pain, especially I guess being a 10-year-old four-wheel drive from the country. It's probably, yeah, best to replace them all, which we will definitely be doing. So I'm not taking it completely off because this one back here is actually really difficult to get out, and there's a screw that has to go in anyway. So we're going to leave it as is. We've got work to get done. Now what we want to do next in the instructions is, you can just see up here, so this is the original air intake. So just, if I could just ask everyone to think about this, and Toyota and just a lot of other car manufacturers' design, look at all the dust that's all in here. So your car, if you don't have a factory, if you don't have a Snorkel, let alone one of those factory raised air intakes that Toyota call on their Land Cruisers, how much dirt will be coming in our air intakes? It's pretty filthy. So I think a Snorkel really is a no-brainer if you're going to go anywhere off the tar. So we're going to take this off now. That's the next part of the job. Let's get started, eh? So you can see we've got another little 10mm bolt here. Let's put it down here. And there's that one. Now it should just hopefully unscrew. There we go. So there's that. Now, instructions say discard. We're going to discard. All right, we're improving. Anything you replace on a Toyota, improve it. Toyota's pretty good, I got to admit. Look, their parts are great. Talking about the air intakes, there's one good thing about our old Pajero, which was a 2014 Pajero, and even the NP model. The air intake's actually on the front, on top of the radiator, so you don't get as much dirty air as you would through this inner guard design. In saying that though, this does make it easier to fit a Snorkel, although look, with the Pajero, you've only got to take off a couple of extra little intakes. So, my 2 cents. All right, we've done that. We're going to now jump up into the engine bay and we're going to start dissecting the air intake. Bum, bum, bum. Now, yes, I'm hopping on my midget ladder here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to undo this. So this is the airbox. We're opening the airbox. I'm going to basically put myself in the engine bay because I'm a midget and I can. There's the normal air filter, which will be retaining. You can see nice and clean. Always do look after it. And there's the inside of the airbox. So if you want to have a look inside here, let's have a look in this airbox. Yeah, it's a bit dirty, isn't it? Kind of like a pig in some mud. So we'll definitely have to give that a clean up before we put the air filter back in. Now, little thing that Safari does say to do is at the bottom, there is that hole there. You can see the little drain hole just there. So we have a couple of options what we can do. Safari says we can silicone that up, which we will do that, whereas other manufacturers don't do that. So it's basically a drain hole. In this case, I'm going to be sealing it up once I've given it a good clean. We're going to get a 12mm socket, I believe. Perfect. But what we will do is we'll actually get a ratchet extension, given how deep that is in there. Alright, so here we go. So yes, I probably should have disconnected this completely, but we're not going to be doing that at this stage. We're going to try and work with what we've got. What we're going to do is we're going to lift this up, and voila. Look at that, that is just absolutely gross. So, you can see even with just my finger marks, a lot of dust in there. Definitely not a good sign. So let's hope Safari does it better. But we'll definitely give this a really good clean up now. So, we will see you in a few moments once this has had a nice spa bath. Alrighty, so we've now taken apart the inner guard. We've given the lovely air intake a nice clean. So ready to be put back on eventually. What we are going to do now is put the template on and get it lined up for drilling. We've got the template and some masking tape. Let's see which way this goes. Does it go like this? Or does it go like this? Or does it go like this? There's so many ways. Alright, if all else fails, let's just get the drill. Don't worry about it. No, alright, we're going to get the instructions and make sure we're going to read this right. If you're probably wondering why I'm using green or lime or yellow, whatever colour you want to call it, to me I'm going to call it tennis ball colour tape. I just think it's nice and easy, a lot easier to see for me, especially getting on in my old age. So just want to make sure that I can actually see this nice and clear. Kind of like those new road markings, if anyone has noticed. At night they glow in the dark. Like, it's pretty cool, I reckon. Don't know if it's going to help the drivers. Yeah, you would hope so, but... So what we'll do now, we'll go get the snorkel first, and we'll see if it lines up before we go ahead and chop. Alrighty guys, so what we've just done is we've removed the adapter. So this is called the air adapter. Wasn't too hard, just need a little bit of a screwdriver to apply some pressure underneath, and then that just popped out. So nice and easy. You can see here it's got like a little, almost like a little vortex, kind of like those high clone fuel things they used to put in the intakes to help them circulate the air and get a little bit more power out of things, whether they're true or not. Some people used to swear on them, others don't. They were really popular back in the 90s actually. But yeah, look, nice and clean. We're all ready. Next step is the template. So I've just managed to put the template on. So we've got that on. Just make sure that when you do it, because of the Prado, it's got the kind of lip on the guard. So we want to make sure it actually is flat and contoured and marked on there. So really, really important. I did double check that. I did use trusted Sharpie. So if you want to come and have a look here and see what I've done. So you can see here I've just measured up, marked everything as to where we're going to be drilling. And we should be good to go now. Let's have some fun and get the drill out. We'll do a center punch first. And you'll notice here we've actually got two pilot holes. And the reason we have two is because we're going to use the 89mm hole saw to do two holes, one here and one here. And then what we're going to do is use the reciprocating drill here and here. We'll give it a nice file and that should be nice and flush. Great. So this one here is called an automatic center punch. So a little bit different to ones that you'd normally get with the hammer. What we do is you put it in here, you put it exactly where you want to do it, and you give it a really good push in. Done. So we make sure that we do that on all of them as well. Now that we've done all this, what we can do, we don't really need this on here anymore. We can leave it on if we want, but no, we're gonna actually remove it. And then we will start drilling. Now, this one here is actually called a step drill. So step drill, it's actually got different measurements you can see here. Now it is telling us to go down to 16 mil. I'm gonna maybe go down to about 10. I think 16 is way too big. So yeah, it's always better to do your holes smaller first, then work your way up. That way, at least you know when you put the screws in, they're gonna be nice and tight. If you start off with the biggest one, obviously you can't put the metal back in. All right, let's go ahead. Great, so now we are down to about 6. So you can see here, I'll bring it around so you can see. Oops, there we go. So it was down to about 6. We're gonna go to about 10. Perfect. All right, and what we do is we do the same with the other ones up here as well. So, and these two here we'll do with, we'll actually use the same one again, but we do have another pilot drill that goes into the 89mm hole saw. So, time for more fun, more drilling. Now it is really nerve-wracking, by the way. Obviously drilling holes in a nice, beautiful, perfect panel. When you are doing a DIY, it does kind of freak you out. I'm not going to kid you on that. Look, once you've done it a few times, you probably get used to it. The reason I'm pretty confident in doing this myself is I have seen it done several times on my own four-wheel drives, and I've also helped out. So that's why I'm not completely freaking out, although I probably will have a stiff drink of scotch later on, but shh, don't tell anyone that. All right, next one, hole number 3. Perfect. So there we have it. So there's our nice 5 one. So what we'll do, I will use this just to do these little 2 pilot ones here, and then we're going to do the big hole. We are with the 89mm hole saw. We have the arbor connected and the pilot drill. So I know you probably noticed, and you'll see it is quite sticking out substantially. Now, don't worry, because if you want to come and stick the camera under here, you'll actually notice, now come with me, let's pry it. It says plenty of room here. So when it does pop through, it's going to pop through around here and here. There's nothing backing, there's nothing behind it. So we're not actually going to be hitting any type of critical information, any critical wires or piping or anything like that. So, alrighty, without further ado, let's drill, baby, drill. Gotten this far on the second hole. However, the hole saw is kicking back really badly. As you can see, my hand is really, really sore. So I've decided to use the reciprocating saw. Let's hope this works. Short of me getting some C4. No, just kidding. All right, let's go for it. accomplished, but a nightmare. I'll be honest with you, it was not as easy as what I thought. So now what we're going to do is we're going to tidy up these burrs, give it a nice file. We'll then put a bit of primer on it and move on to the next phase. So let's go get the file. So next part of it, now that we've done away the hard part, now that is probably one of the worst part I'd have to say of the whole job. Second was probably removing the inner trim guard. Look, if your car's new, it's probably not too bad because I guess the sediments and all the dirt hasn't had time to go into all those little locks behind those pins. So yeah, if you're doing from brand new. Look, next part we're going to do is on stage 5, which is we're going to install the upper mounting bracket to the snorkel body, and then we'll be putting in all of our little bolts here so we can line it up and make sure it all fits nicely. So let's start off with the first one. So here is our bracket that it's called the upper mounting bracket to be specific. So that will be fitted up the top over here as such. So here we have all our lovely little bits. So let's put on these two, which are called hex nuts. All right. If any of you have any ex-wives, you definitely don't want to have those hex nuts put on you, that's for sure. All right, enough dad jokes for the day. All right, so we've got these ones here. Now it does say that we need to apply some Loctite to each of the stainless steel mounting studs. Oh, and here's all our lovely little nooses, we're going to call them. No, just kidding. All of our clamps. So I don't believe we'll need this, because it looks like it's going to be, we got some self-locking ones there. Alright, so let me just go and get my socket set. I believe that looks like a 10 mil. So the next part is these 5. So we're going to grab these mounting studs and we'll put them in each of these here. Alright, so let's just put a little dab of Loctite in each one. So the next step is to put the adhesive foam backing on here. So what we'll do now is we can see here, we place it over. Everything should line up nicely, which it does. That's exactly what we want. So what we do now is we want to take it back off. We're going to remove this and we're going to stick it on. As you'll notice, the trick is just to make sure that it does bend and fold a bit. Because with the Prado, you got the guard, you can see it's got the curvature in it. So that's what we want to make sure that it's lining up with that, which you can see we've done it perfectly in this example. So really nice, and this is what you want to have when you're installing it. You don't want any vibrations, you want it nice and quiet. So there we go. I think we've done a pretty good job so far for a first time installer. Our next step now is to the A-pillar. But what I want to do first, I'm just going to jump away from the instruction a little bit. I'm just going to go and measure this up first and make sure that all the holes that we've drilled line up good. Alrighty, so now what we'll do, while we've got the snorkel body on here, we're going to mark over here where we want to drill the hole. So we need to mark the bracket. So here's the bracket here. So I'm just going to mark this. Now you can do it with some tape or not, so I'm going to do that as such. We need the bracket now, so let's take this off. What we're doing now, we've got the bracket over here. What we want to do is mark where the 3 holes are going to be. All right, so ideally, if you've got someone that can help, that's great. If not, you just do what you gotta do. All right, so I think we've got that pretty good there. So we'll do 1, 2, excellent. All right, there's our 3. Now we're going to center punch these 3 lines here. So put that in there. 1, 2, and 3. So what I'm about to do now, I'm going to drill out where our bracket is going to go. What we're going to do now is do a bit of rust protection. We want to touch all this up, and then we can go ahead and we're up to the final stages. So let's go ahead and spray. Now it's all right, you don't have to have this absolutely perfect like a work of art, because the bracket is going to sit on top of it anyway. So it's probably nice if you're a little bit liberal with the overpaint. All right, don't stress too much about that. Same as over here, we'll do the same. So I've already done underneath. Now I'm going to do the top part. So we're going to go around and touch up each one. And again, what I'm doing is I'm just starting with the inside, getting the brush all around. Same as this big one. The big one here, we want to be, again, very liberal with it, as in spread a lot, paint a lot. Want to make sure that we do seal this nicely. We want to protect it for years to come, especially with the beating that 4-wheel drives that we set them up for take. So spend that extra couple of minutes and make sure that you have covered up all those little rust spots. Yeah, you don't want to see any shiny metal at all. So we are almost here, almost done. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these little plastic rivet screws in. This is those 3. Now what we're going to do, we're going to use these 3 self-tapping screws, and we're going to put the bracket on up here. So there's one of the screws. We'll start off here. We'll just let that hang loosely for a minute. Second one. So here is the airbox that you remember that we cleaned. Now, It has two tabs here. So we've got one here and one here, which we need to remove. So let's go and get the file. Or we can just do this. We'll see if this works with a reciprocating saw. We can now put some silicone on our little drain holes down the bottom. So if you look in here, before we did show you when we were cleaning it, there's a couple of holes down there, so we're gonna silicone them up. All right, so we can see here, there's 3 holes in there. So what we'll do is we just want to make sure that that's all nice and sealed. Which they are. Excellent. So now we can put the air intake back in. So up in here, now we just have to, we had to move things around earlier on because as I mentioned to you, we had a huge downpour of rain and hail. So I'm just going to chuck this up here for now. Let's go ahead and we're going to install this from the inner guard. And this round part connects it to the actual air filter inside, or the air box rather, and this is going to connect to the snorkel. So we've got 2 round clamps. So one is, you'll notice, is actually larger. That is for this side here, which goes into the snorkel. That's called the elliptical part, and the other one is obviously the round part. So we don't need to put the round clamp on yet. That will go on once we've actually fed this through the actual body. All right, let's go ahead and put this on. So there's the round hole, as we can see. So it's from the factory. All right, great. So now that we've managed to put that round connection over through to the air box, so the next instructions are to install the hose clamp loosely over that air entry, which we're going to be accessing from the engine bay. Let's hop up here on my lovely ladder. We are going to position this clamp here over the existing air box. Now it is a little bit of a bugger because it does seem to want to move. And what we're going to do is, after we've put this on, we will then give it a bit of silicone. Right. So what we're doing now is we're just going to tighten this hose clamp over the silicone hose. So what we're going to do now, we've just put the body of the snorkel on, just go straight through the holes that we've already cut. Just want to make sure they're all obviously lined up and all the bolts are in each respective hole. So sometimes they do need a little bit of a gentle love tap, so they're all nice and in. What we're going to do now is we'll put the washers here. So we've got, as I mentioned to you before, we've got the stainless ones and we've got some little rubber ones and the nylock nuts. So we'll go underneath, put them on. Next step is the rubber hose here, which we'll put that in very shortly. Just rubber goes on first, then the stainless, and then the nut. So we're going to pop our head under here. And we'll start off with the one closest to us. Goes in just like that. So this one here, you can see it's very, very, very difficult to get to. So we'll save that little special one until last. So there's a little bugger right up there. So I'm pointing to this one here. Now that is really hard to get to. So a handy tip if you're installing it, install the other ones first, tighten them as much as you can, and then it'll actually push the head of the bolt through, or the head of the little connection through, so you can screw it on. If you have a open-ended 13mm small socket ratchet is what you'll need to get into that. There is the connection there, which is what we're going to be putting in it now. Alright, so here we have our lovely Sikaflex. I'm just going to be putting as much as I can on here. See underneath we've now connected the silicone intake from the Snorkel to the airbox. What we're going to do now is we'll put the ram head on and the two bolts, and basically just do everything in reverse order, put everything back together. So you put the inner guard on, put your wheel back on, and you're basically good to go. These are the two little nuts, little bolts. We're going to put them right under here. Final step is we're going to put the ram head on, which is perfect timing. So we'll just put the clamp there. This just goes on as such. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to make sure the ram head is actually straight or in position what you like. I think that looks pretty good. And now what we'll do is we'll just loosen this just enough to over the edges. So let's just loosen it more. Alright, that looks pretty straight to me. What we want to do is when we're putting this screw, we want to make sure the screw is actually behind. So we're going to put it at the back of the ram head. The reason that we want to put it at the back is so that way it doesn't create any, I guess, wind resistance, and then you're stuck with a really annoying whistling noise or anything like that. So that is the logic behind my madness, and we're just going to nip this up. So what we're going to do now is just, we've already put everything, it's all nice and tight. We've got the nice clean air filter. I just run a standard Ryko or whatever sometimes Toyota will put in. Put that back in. everything back up. What we'll then do now essentially is reverse all this. So we'll put the inner guard back in, put new fresh clips in it, put the wheel back on, but Safari Snorkel fully installed. So here we have the final finished product, the Safari Snorkel install on the 150 Prado, first of the 1GD motors. So this took me almost 2 days, and that was because we had a lot of recording, so a lot of stopping, starting, also rain set in and some hail. Generally it probably would have taken me about 4 hours to do, whereas a normal sort of mechanic or normal installer would probably be about, I believe it's about 2 hours or so, or 2.5 hours. So it's not too bad. I'm pretty happy with it. I've done a really nice job. Everything has fit in really well. I've taken it for a drive. There are no rattles, no vibrations. It's perfect positioning. So even underneath here, the foam is in perfect position. Airbox is now nice and sealed. So I'm actually really happy with this, with the job on this one. Look, I give anyone that has a half good idea on mechanics, please give it a crack. Especially if you've got the tools already, it'll save yourself a lot. But if you don't have the tools, sometimes it may be worth just getting someone to do it, especially if you don't have the time. I wanted to do it just for learning. I found it really rewarding. Yeah, it's a really nice job. I know it's all done properly. So yeah. Hope you like this video. If you have any questions or any feedback, or even if you're looking at installing your own and you want to ask me anything, feel free to comment. I'm happy to reach out and happy to give you any guidance or assistance from my experience. A lot of them, I've put a lot of hints and tips in the video, so hopefully that will help you become a really competent snorkel installer. So thanks again for watching. If you really do like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.